What's up team? Josh from 𝙁𝙤𝙪𝙧, and we have an exciting interview here for you today. My good friend and coach, 𝙤𝙤𝙪𝙧, who has developed and earned the title, AKA God Creator, who has become the successful head coach of 𝙤𝙪𝙘𝙀 and a franchise business owner of Level Up. This is one you're going to want to watch. All right, Kelsey, brother, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for having us here at Level Up here out in 𝙤𝙪𝙘𝙀. Mate, now, most people may know you, some that don't. Now, I've known you for 5 years, and the reason I have you here today is because you've been pivotal in my transformation of health, fitness, and mindset. Now, I used to call you the AKA the God Creator, or the what was it, the mad scientist, because the way you used to break it down. However, I've heard through the grapevine that the new title is the AKA the God Creator, which is an incredible title to hold. Now, tell the people who you are and how you got yourself to being the head coach of 𝙤𝙪𝙘𝙀, Flex Fitness, and the franchise owner of the Level Up.
Cool, easy. All right, so first and foremost, I'm 𝙤𝙤𝙪𝙧. I'm what I'd say fitness coach, or a guide more so, or even, as I like to say, a problem solver to quite a few people. So people come to me whenever they're wanting to get stronger, fitter, healthier, and be able to perform at a level that they didn't know that they could do before. And so it's my goal to take the person in front of me and turn them into the person that they actually aspire to become at some point in their time. And so how I ended up actually getting into this role of working through as a head coach is what I believe a lot of years of experience, and being able to take over a decade worth of experience and have the right opportunity at the right time. And so through getting to work as a head coach in other facilities and be able to build my craft and spend this time growing, I was first very, very lucky to start off working at Flex Fitness Lincoln, and then given an opportunity there to prove my worth and show my value, and then ended up being able to come here and be the head coach. So I was approached to essentially become the head coach of Level Up here in 𝙤𝙪𝙘𝙀, and to be able to take this community and grow it as much as we possibly could and put it on the map. Now, throughout that time, I've had the privilege of being able to work with the initial owners of Level Up, who were Mel Newton and Joe Kelso, and they were the ones who offered myself and Jack Walsh, who is another one of our business owners and business partners when it comes down to Level Up as a franchise, the opportunity to join their team and to become business owners as well too within that franchise. So that's how I ended up landing the role. Right now we have 8 clubs across New Zealand flying the Level Up flag. So that's essentially the too long do not listen version of how I got here. So yeah.
So you've grown to 8, expanded. You've got 4 business partners, or 3 other business partners, 4 including yourself. You've done a decade worth of training, expertise in the PT scene, then also in the business development scene as you've grown. Started off earning your stripes in Lincoln, then got the shoulder tap to say, hey, would you come start off here in 𝙤𝙪𝙘𝙀? So that's quite incredible, and it's a testament to your work ethic and your mindset. I like the way that you said that you're a problem solver, because in business, in life, it really is just being a solutions operator. Mate, but there must be a little bit more. Like, how did you find yourself, because as we can tell by the tone, not from New Zealand, how did you find yourself to New Zealand, and what made you decide to become a PT, to bring it all to where you are now?
Easy. So I'm going to wind it back, way back, over 10 years ago. So first and foremost, that's where it all started. Or actually more than that, 17 years ago. I woke up one morning and was 155 kilos. And so being that 155 kilos, I just had a very serious talk with myself and realized that if I was going to make it to 34, which I am now, that I probably was going to be much bigger than that. And if I did actually make it to that, I was going to have a host of health problems. So what started off as me losing weight was something that ended up snowballing into me finding the gym and loving the gym. And then at that point in time, I was working as a mechanic and working on cars and doing all of these different things. And the recession came around it was around 2008, but then started to snowball throughout 2009, 2010. And in 2010, I was laid off as a mechanic. And I don't tell this story often, or at least haven't told it in a social presence, but I ended up moving back home. I'd moved out when I was young, And it finally hit a point where my dad one day sat me down and he was just like, hey, you've got two options. One, you can get a job and start paying rent. Two, you can get a job and you can move out, or we can add another option on the table. And that option is you can go to university and you can stay here and live rent-free. And I looked at him at that point in time in my frustration and I said, well, what do you think I'm supposed to do if I go to university? And he said, you like to work out so much, why don't you go teach people to do that? And so that, at that point in time, was that initial almost, I guess, assurance from my dad that he saw this potential in me and that he wanted me to actually be able to go through and start seeking this different path in my life of where I was headed. So that started getting me into the industry at essentially 23. And so through then, it started off with me going to school, going to university, getting my bachelor in exercise science with a major in sports and performance, and then building a name for myself that way and getting opportunities and putting myself out there and working as a strength and conditioning coach in the university and being able to basically grow to a point in time where I, throughout that was working with some professional level athletes and working with youth athletes and doing all of these different things and living the perfect life, so to speak, from the outside looking in, and realized that I could do my work anywhere that I wanted to in the world. And what started off with my then girlfriend, now wife, and I moving across the world to Australia to try it out and see what it'd be like to live there, ended up with us coming to New Zealand on a whim, well, not on a whim, planned Christmas holiday, and then realizing how amazing the country was and never leaving there. So throughout each phase, moving from Canada, moving to Oz, and then moving to New Zealand, I've played some role of a coach. Ever since I made that moment where that decision to change my career, I haven't turned back. And it's always involved some level. So whether it was up in Auckland, working again as a CrossFit coach at CrossFit New Zealand, and then moving down to Nelson and working as a coach there at 𝙁𝙤𝙪𝙧 Performance, and then moving down to Christchurch. And again, all of these kind of being last minute whims of let's just move and see what happens, or as I like to say, sorry for the swearing, but we need to fuck around and find out and see what happens, ended up with me landing in Christchurch and finding a place that I could call home. And again, every single step of the way has been about trying to intentionally be curious about what it is that I'm doing and find ways to pursue excellence and develop myself and the people around me and try and raise the standard of the industry, but also raise the people up and see the potential in the people that I'm working with and help them see that potential themselves. And that effectively is, I think, what over time has led me here. It's been a lot of learning, a lot of trials, and a lot of different things and a lot of opportunities along the way, but it's what's essentially brought me and given me that experience to be able to help others the way that I can help them and help them solve the problems. Because up until now, I've probably worked with, I would say, at least over 3,000 people from the last decade plus of experience that I've had in the industry.
Quite incredible. Quite an incredible story. Helping people unlock their potential. So 17 years ago, deciding rock bottom, 155 kgs, like that's huge. And you look like you're lighter than me these days. So you're a testament and you're a product of the product. You can guide people because you've been there in that sense. And then you've utilized, I guess, a pain in your life. And then also a pivotal point that pain, usually when the pain comes, there's a crossroad. Stay going down the same direction or decide to make that change. And it sounds like your dad was very pivotal in that moment to allow you to guide there. And then from there, well, mate, you're flourishing, you're thriving. So that's just incredible. I think a lot of people will find the value in that story. So now a couple of key points is that you were a mechanic before you were a PT. You were overweight and then got in shape as a PT. What has been some, I guess, the challenges of maybe moving from a different country, a new home, but also going from, let's say, a wage earner to a business owner? Like, because there's a bit of a shift there, and that would have been a bit of a challenge. As you said, you've done a lot of learning and growing over that time.
So one of the biggest challenges, I think, is, and we say it a lot in the industry, especially I find in coaching circles where we've been doing it for a while, is that a lot of people like the idea of being a PT more than sometimes they like actually being a PT. But I think that speaks to business in itself. A lot of people like the idea of being a business owner more than they actually like running a business. Because when you get into it, you find that nothing's guaranteed. And you start to learn that, as I like to say, you almost have to eat dirt for a little while, and you have to be willing to work harder than what people would commonly say is okay to work. And you have to be willing to put yourself out there, and you have to also develop yourself as the individual to acquire the skills to be able to run that business and develop the systems that you need to be able to thrive. Whereas, and it's no offense taken to the people that like their 9 to 5, but you get to shut off at the end of your 9 to 5, and you get to go home and not have to worry about the extra work that needs to be done. And so something that I realized from this switch was, one, like the amount of work that you have to be able to put in, but two, the systems and the kind of person that you need to become and develop along the way to be able to support your business have to be in place. And you have to be constantly developing yourself as well too, because if you aren't, your competitors are going to be developing themselves and pushing that needle forward as well. And I think that like throughout that, it comes with this different mindset, this willingness to take risks, this willingness to put yourself out there and work, even though you might not get an immediate return on that investment. And I call it almost planting seeds, right? Like we plant seeds, we water them once. It's not like we're gonna rip them out of the soil because they didn't actually grow plants. We're going to continue to water them and put them out in the sun and nurture them and give them what they need. Knowing that in time, that's gonna create that snowball effect. That's gonna create the momentum that we need to develop and grow our business and see the fruits of our labor, rather than thinking that we're entitled to that reward without putting in that work. Because in a wage earning job, you show up, you do the work, you get immediately compensated for it. So there's a little bit of like the process that's embedded into this that we need to learn to love and enjoy. And we need to make sure that we're willing to show up for, and that we're taking care of everything else that supports that journey.
Very true.
Yeah.
I can relate to that in many ways.
Yeah.
No risk, no reward. There's always an element of risk there. I like the way that you said that you've got to plant the seeds. Planting the seeds now so that you can sow in seasons to come. It's not an instant gratification or that instant compensation for the work for showing up. And then the last one, hearing it, is that after 5 o'clock, it doesn't just stop. It doesn't just shut off. And there's a little bit more that you'd be willing to be prepared to work a bit longer, work a bit harder than what you normally would, though in time and years and seasons to come, you'll reap those rewards. You'll reap those rewards. Now, I will usually touch on business a little bit more in these videos. However, I think it might be from such a powerful story that you have. What would be the 3 key or biggest lessons that you've learned from going from 155 kgs to where you are now in health? And whether it's helped you in business or whether it's helped you with your relationship being a father and a husband. I'll let you take it there, but what's been the 3 key lessons from that journey?
The first one is, it's a good one. The first one that I always like to say with this is you have to actually take radical responsibility for your life and for your actions. It's very, very easy sometimes to wake up one day and be able to put blame on everything and everyone else, right? But at the end of the day, we are the humans, and while we can't control the external circumstances, we can control what's happening internally, and we can control how we perceive those things, and we can control how we show up as an individual in the world as well too. And the moment that you're willing to start taking responsibility for your life is the moment that you're able to actually start to grow and start to flourish. Instead of blaming, like as a newfound father, it's easy for me to turn around and say, my son woke up at 2:53 this morning, because he did. I could be showing up here and not giving people my time and attention and effort and blame it on him. But I use that as an excuse to show up and do my job to the best of my ability as I possibly can, because I would want him to see me doing that. And so it's little things like that where it's taking that personal responsibility and realizing what I can control. And what I can control is how I show up and give that effort to the others in my life, but also to myself as well too. I can control if I had a bad sleep and I'm in the gym and I'm like, man, I don't feel like moving today. I can control if I make that decision whether to move or not to move. And so it comes back to that personal responsibility, because as you know, with your life and your journey, when you take that personal responsibility for where you are, then you gain some level of confidence and clarity that allows you to move that needle where you're going. It's only when you turn back and you reflect on yourself and you cultivate that level of awareness that you can find out where you want to go. So my first one is take responsibility, right? Like when we take that responsibility for absolutely everything, and to use Jocko Willink, as he would say, like you take that extreme ownership over everything, that gives you the freedom. People talk about discipline equaling freedom, but I think it's the ownership of what's happening in your life that gives you that freedom to go out and do the things that you want with your life. So that's the first one. The second one is to have a white belt mentality. So no matter what happens in your life, I think that a lot of people get to a point where we tell ourselves stories, right? Like stories are how we communicate. We're telling a story right now, but we also tell ourselves stories. And I think that having a white belt mentality keeps us open to constantly learning. It keeps us open to asking those questions, whether it's about ourselves or whether it's about what we know, right? Like we have these beliefs about the world. And if we ask ourselves and we never arrive at this place where we think that we know it all, we become this constant learner who's able to grow and develop and push the norm and challenge things. I said I'm a problem solver. I'm a problem solver because people like yourself, who is a busy, successful businessman who is crunched for time and trying to maximize every moment of his day while also maximizing his health, his mindset, and his fitness, need that kind of solution. And that involves taking what we would call our societal norms, breaking those rules, and giving you a new set of rules from which to play by that allow you to succeed and thrive the way that you want to. And it's not ignoring the principles that exist, it's taking them and being able to put my own take and twist on them. And the only way you can do that is through having that white belt mentality and being able to learn and being able to constantly change and develop things and ask questions and invest in yourself as an individual. So that would be another really big thing. The last one that I'd say, and I think it's easier said than done, but it's this thing I've said for years, is back yourself, right? If you don't back yourself, no one else ever will, right? And if you don't show up for yourself, it's easy, man. Like we live in this world where you can open up your phone and you can compare yourself to every single other person who's doing what you're doing and think that you are not being successful. And it's that old adage that comparison is the thief of joy, but we can also use comparison to drive us and to see that things are possible and ask the question, why not me? And be that person who then does that. And the only way then, once we've asked why not me, to get to that position is to actually back ourselves and to actually have that confidence in what we're doing and how we carry ourselves and to show up. You've had deals before that they've been there. You've been about to push through the line and they fall through, right? In that moment, yes, you might feel self-doubt. You might feel a little bit of pity, but you need to pick yourself back up and back yourself because you know that you are the kind of person who can get those deals across the line. And that's what I think is really important for a lot of people, having that little bit of confidence and willing to back themselves, even if they don't feel like they know what they're doing, is right in that moment in time.
Action trumps fear.
100%.
Action trumps fear. So in that sort of sense, is the radical responsibility. Take ownership of yourself, extreme ownership like Jocko Willink's. A good saying that I've heard recently from a mentor of mine, Tom Panos, is that it's not your fault. However, it's your problem. So even if it isn't your fault or it is your fault, regardless, it's your problem. And what are you going to do to change that? And sometimes if you can't change it, how can you change the way that you feel or respond to it or act to it? So very key, white belt mentality. Always be open to learning, always be open to checking yourself and surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals. And then the third one was back yourself. Yeah, I love that one. I could relate to that one very hard, you know. So I think you could take that fitness, health, business, life in all aspects of various. So those great answers there. And now coming close to the time, Kels, what does the future look like for you? Where is it going? Share with the people what to expect.
Yeah, cool. So one of the biggest things that we're trying to do right now is we're standing in one of the projects, Level Up. So we're trying to change the way that people view fitness and the way that they interact with fitness, whether that's coming into our clubs and having the opportunity to experience results-based group training, because there are a lot of offers out there on the market right now where people don't get to see the results that they want. But how we're delivering the results is slightly different. We're trying to educate and get people to a point where they then can become the kind of person who has that level of autonomy and self-efficacy and competency to be able to go out and perform and thrive in this environment so then they can thrive outside in the rest of their life as well too. So we've got a lot of things there where we're trying to grow the name of Level Up and the brand and grow the environment with physical locations. We also have things that we've been working on with an app where we're trying to grow how people view nutrition and how they also view training as well, and make that affordable to the masses as well, especially because, again, fitness it's this beautiful thing where at one end of the spectrum, fitness is free. At the other end of the spectrum, it's also a luxury, depending on how you're playing with it. And we're trying to make sure that people have the ability to have access to that luxury aspect, and then can, again, be able to see that change that they want in their life based off of what their goals. So we have some things coming there with the app. My biggest thing, man, is it's still trying to get the message out there for people, and you've experienced it yourself, how fitness can be this medium that allows you to actually develop the level of resilience that makes you the kind of person who's capable to weather whatever storm life throws at you, right? It's the largest medium that I know for self-development in the whole entire world. Yes, we have all of these different aspects and elements, but it's trying to get more people to understand that it isn't just this thing that you do for weight loss. It isn't just this thing that you do to get stronger or fitter. It's this thing that you do to radically change yourself and to become this person that you never knew that you possibly could be, and to get the confidence and competence and clarity that comes from that.
How good. So expanding Level Up, playing with a new app that's going to be launching to sort of touch off nutrition and also fitness, and then help give people the luxury of fitness at a reasonable investment, and then also to change the mindset, change the the culture in the community, to give them that sort of like a baseline foundation of, because if you've got the body right, then the mind's right, and the mind's right, everything else around you starts to become right, and have that resilience to whether go for a fitness goal, business goal, career goal, whatever it might be. Fitness is business, fitness is life. Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved even learning a little bit more about you than what I thought I did, but maybe just learned a little bit more. You've had my back for 5 years, tried and true. You're a product of the product, hence why I use you. And no matter what I throw at you, no matter what I'm working towards, like I got this time, I'm working on this, you've always catered, you've always had that can-do, and your stoic mindset has always been deeply appreciated. So I want to say thank you. Is there anything that you want to say to the people, or how can they find you? Any last words?
Easy. So you guys can find me. My biggest one that I tell everyone is, if you find me on Instagram, it's at 𝙤𝙤𝙪𝙧. So you guys can find me there. If you're the kind of person that you want to get stronger, you want to get fitter, you want to be more resilient, to be able to, again, kind of like Josh has said, develop that mindset and the physical and mental characteristics that will allow you to do what you want to with your life and to become this different person, then come find me. I always say the doors are open. Come knocking, and that door will be there, and it will be ready, willing, and open for you.
𝙤𝙤𝙪𝙧, the AKA, the God Creator.
Thanks, brother. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.